Hey there. Ready to dive deep into personal finance? We've got a really cool deep dive set up for you today.
That's right.
It's based on that TV show transcript you sent, Money Moves Made Easy.
Yeah,
Whether you're just starting out or you just want to brush up on things, this episode is all about making your money work harder, for you.
that's right. We're going to talk about budgeting, saving, debt, credit scores, and we'll even dip our toes into investing a little bit.
Oh, investing. Now, that's something that I always used to find kind of intimidating, but this show does a really great job of like breaking it all down, making it feel totally doable.
Absolutely. And I really like how the show sort of emphasizes like the bigger picture. It's not just about like numbers. It's about understanding that personal finance is really all about freedom and control, right?
Right. Yeah. It's about like having the power to make your own choices and reach your goals, whatever those might be.
Exactly.
Instead of feeling like money is controlling you, you're the one calling the shots.
Exactly. And the show lays out these three main principles that I thought were really, really good. Avoiding debt traps,
Okay.
because high interest debt, that can really hold you back. Building a sense of security, having that financial safety net to kind of like navigate all of the ups and downs of life. And this is the exciting part, growing your wealth over time through investing.
I love that. It's like you
Wow.
build that foundation, you make sure you're protected, and then you can set yourself up for like long-term growth.
Yeah.
Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty of like budgeting and all of that, I've got to ask, like, what even is personal finance? How do you even do it? Because I feel like it can be kind of an abstract concept sometimes.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But the show kind of simplifies it nicely. It's really all about managing your money effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it like this. You got your income coming in, you've got expenses going out, you've got savings, and you've got investments.
Mm.
It's about making these conscious decisions about how you use each one of those things,
Hmm.
making your money work for you, not against you.
Okay, so it's not just paying your bills, but like having a system, having a strategy. Because before I started budgeting, I felt like my money was just like, I don't know, vanishing. I had no idea where it was going.
Yeah, and that's so common, so common. That's where budgeting comes in.
Okay.
The show uses this really cool analogy of a budget being your financial GPS.
I like that.
It helps you track where your money's going, make informed decisions about your spending, and then ultimately, reach your financial destination.
Yeah, I love that analogy. Before I had a budget, I felt like I was just driving around with no map. Just, where am I going? I don't even know.
Exactly. So let's break down this budgeting process.
Okay.
The show outlines this super, super simple approach. Perfect for beginners. First, you track your income.
Sure.
You want to make sure you include every source, not just your, main job or anything like that. Then you list out all of your expenses and you differentiate between your fixed costs, like your rent,
Okay.
and then your variable costs, like groceries and entertainment.
So you're getting a really clear picture of what's coming in and what's going out.
Yeah, it's super important.
Yeah.
And then the show introduces this framework called the 5-30-30-20 rule.
Oh, yes, the famous 50-30-20 rule.
You've heard of it.
I have heard of it, yeah. But I'm always curious to hear how, like, people apply it.
So it's all about allocating your after-tax income, right?
Okay.
So 50% goes to your needs.
Meats, okay.
Things like your rent, groceries, utilities, transportation.
Okay.
30% is for your wants. So that's things like dining out, entertainment, travel, hobbies.
Okay.
And then the final 20% is dedicated to your savings and paying down any debt that you might have.
Okay, that's really helpful. Just like seeing it all broken down like that. It's a framework that lets you like enjoy life and build financial security at the same time.
Absolutely. So for example, let's say you bring home $4,000 a month after taxes.
Okay.
With the 50-30-20 rule, $2,000 of that would go towards your needs, your essentials, leaving you $1,200 for the fun things that bring you joy.
Mm-hmm.
And then $800 to kind of bolster your savings or tackle any debt you might have.
Okay. Wow. When you put it like that, it really shows how this could be a game changer. It's not about like depriving yourself, but like making choices, like conscious choices about how you allocate your money.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the best part is you don't have to do all those calculations in your head or anything.
Thank goodness.
The show mentions these popular budgeting apps that do all the hard work for you. Apps like Mint, YNB, Pocket Guard.
Yeah.
They can connect to your bank accounts, track your spending, and even categorize your transactions like automatically.
Oh, technology to the rescue.
Yeah.
I've actually been using a budgeting app for a while now, and it's been amazing. It's like having a little personal finance assistant just in my pocket, Like I can check my budget whenever, wherever, make sure I'm on track.
That's amazing, yeah. It just shows how technology can really simplify our lives, our financial lives.
Yeah, totally. So you've got your budget in place, you're tracking your spending. Now comes like the next big step,
Right.
saving. But here's the question. How much should you even be saving? Because I feel like there's so much advice out there. It can be
Mhm.
overwhelming, especially if you're just starting out. What guidance does the show give on that?
Well, they really emphasize starting with an emergency fund. Like, think
Yeah.
of it as a financial safety net.
Okay.
They recommend aiming for about 3 to 6 months worth of essential living expenses,
Mm.
kind of tucked away in a separate account that's easily accessible.
Okay, so that's like the cushion to fall back on if something unexpected happens.
Right.
Like that time my laptop totally died on me. Right before a huge deadline, I had to like scramble to buy a new one and it like totally messed up my budget.
Yeah, it's a perfect example, right?
Yeah.
The emergency fund is there to kind of help you navigate those unexpected events without totally derailing your financial progress.
Right, so you're not like forced to rely on credit cards or loans when something like that happens.
Exactly. Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. And the show also mentions this great tip like to build that emergency fund without even like really thinking about it, right?
Well,
Automating your savings.
yes, that's one of my favorite like personal finance hacks.
Yeah.
You just set up these automatic transfers from your checking account to your savings account each month. Even if it's like a small amount to begin with, it really adds up over time. You're basically like paying yourself first, making saving a non-negotiable part of your routine.
It's so true. I have to say that has been huge for me. Like I always used to struggle to save consistently, but once I automated it, it was like effortless. My savings just started growing without me even thinking about it.
Yeah, it's incredible like what a difference that small change can make, right?
Yeah.
It takes the willpower out of it. It just becomes this seamless part of your financial life.
Yeah. So we've got budgeting down, we're building up our savings. Let's tackle another big one.
Okay.
Debt. It can feel really overwhelming, especially if you're dealing with like multiple sources of debt, you
Right.
know? Like student loans, credit cards, personal loans.
Yeah, it can definitely be a huge source of stress.
Yeah.
But the show offers some really good um practical strategies for kind of like getting it under control.
Yep.
They talk about two popular methods. The debt snowball method
Okay.
and the debt avalanche method.
Okay. I've heard of those, but I'm not totally sure I know the difference. Can you explain?
Yeah, of course. So the debt snowball method, it's all about momentum, right?
Okay.
You tackle your smallest debts first, regardless of the interest rates.
Okay.
So you focus on paying off that smallest balance as quickly as possible while still making minimum payments on everything else.
Okay.
Once that first debt is wiped out, you roll that payment amount over to the next smallest debt and so on and so on.
Oh,
It's like you're creating a snowball.
yeah.
It just like gains momentum as it goes.
Oh, okay. So it's more about the psychological win of like seeing those debts disappear one by one.
Exactly. It can be super motivating.
Yeah, especially if you're feeling kind of overwhelmed.
Right. The debt avalanche method, it's a little different. It's more about minimizing those interest payments.
Okay.
So you prioritize paying off your debt with the highest interest rate first,
Okay.
while making minimum payments on all the other ones. So this approach, it's going to save you more money in the long run,
Okay.
but it might take a bit longer to see those initial wins.
Got it. So one's a bit more like strategic, numbers focused. The other one is more about like using motivation. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And they use this great visual of a snowball, rolling downhill, getting bigger and bigger as it picks up speed to kind of show how consistent even small payments can eventually just crush that debt.
Yeah, I love that. I love that visual. It makes it seem less scary.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's move on to something that I think can feel a bit mysterious,
Okay.
especially for people who are kind of new to personal finance.
Okay.
Credit scores.
Yes. Credit scores. They're so important, but so confusing.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when I first started learning about them, I was like, I have no idea what any of this means.
It's very understandable. So your credit score, it's basically a number, right? It represents how credit worthy you are.
Okay.
It's based on your credit history, your payment patterns, your debt levels, various other factors. And lenders use it to figure out like how risky you are as a borrower. So it can impact everything from, the interest rates you get on loans to whether you can rent an apartment or even like get certain jobs sometimes.
Wow. So it's like your financial report card.
Exactly. Exactly. And the show highlights these three key steps for building and maintaining a good credit score.
Okay, I'm ready.
First one, pay your bills on time. Every
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Late payments, those can really hurt your score.
Yeah.
Second thing, keep your credit utilization low.
Okay, what does that mean?
So that means using a small percentage of your available credit.
Okay.
You want to aim to stay below 30% of your credit limit.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then the last thing is check your credit report regularly.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So you're actually entitled to a free copy from each of the three major credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion every year.
Okay.
So make sure you review it for any errors and then dispute those errors right away.
Okay, those are all really great tips, and they really show how important it is to just be proactive and responsible when it comes to your credit.
Absolutely, yeah.
Speaking of credit scores, the show mentioned this one thing that really stuck with me. A good credit score, like 700 or above, could save you thousands of dollars on a mortgage.
That's right, yeah. A higher score gets you those lower interest rates, which can lead to really big savings over the life of your loan.
Okay. That's motivation to keep my credit score looking good. Okay, so now let's get into something that used to make me super nervous.
Okay.
Investing.
Yeah.
I used to think it was just for financial experts or people with tons of money.
Yeah, it's a common misconception. It can seem really intimidating. But the show actually does a really good job of kind of demystifying it and making it seem doable for, regular people.
Yeah.
So they present three beginner-friendly options.
Okay.
Index funds and ETFs.
Okay.
Retirement accounts.
Okay.
Things like 401ks and IRAs. And then stocks and bonds.
Okay. I've heard of all of those, but I'm still a little fuzzy on the details.
Mm-hmm.
Can you break it down?
Yeah, of course. So index funds and ETFs, think of them as these baskets of stocks or bonds that track a specific market index,
Okay.
like the S&P 500. They offer instant diversification,
Okay.
which means your investment is spread across hundreds or even thousands of companies.
Okay, so lower risk.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then because they're passively managed, meaning they're just following a set index,
Okay.
the fees tend to be way lower than actively managed funds.
Okay, so it's like investing in a little bit of everything with lower risk and lower fees. That sounds pretty good.
Exactly, especially for someone just starting out.
Yeah.
Now, retirement accounts, those are things like, your 401ks, your IRAs.
Right.
They offer really significant tax advantages.
Okay.
They're designed to help you save for retirement. And they come with these tax breaks that can really boost your savings over time.
Yeah, I always associated those with people who are closer to retirement.
Right.
But I'm realizing the earlier you start, the better.
Right. Absolutely. The earlier you start, the better.
Yeah.
The magic of compound growth is really on your side, when you start early.
Yeah.
Even those small contributions, they can grow a lot over time.
Yeah.
The show emphasizes that it's never too early to start investing, even if it's just $50 a month.
Wow. Okay.
Those small, consistent investments can really add up to a significant amount of wealth in the future.
So it's not about having a huge amount to invest right away, but starting small, being consistent, and then letting that compound growth do its thing.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then we have stocks and bonds. So stocks, those represent ownership in a company.
Okay.
While bonds are essentially loans to companies or governments.
Okay.
Stocks, they tend to have higher growth potential, but they also come with higher risk. Bonds, they're usually considered lower risk, but they also offer lower potential returns.
Makes sense.
So a good portfolio often has a mix of both
Oh.
to manage risk and potentially maximize returns.
So it's all about finding that balance
Exactly.
between risk and reward and figuring out what works for your goals and your risk tolerance. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about understanding the different options, knowing how much risk you're comfortable with, and then putting together a portfolio that aligns with your financial goals.
This has been such a helpful breakdown of investing. It really is empowering to realize it's not as complicated or as scary as it can seem at first.
Yeah, I agree.
But at the end of the day, financial success isn't just about the technical stuff, right? The budgeting, saving, investing.
Right.
It's also about building those good financial habits.
Absolutely. And the show kind of wraps up by highlighting 5 essential financial habits that can really make a huge difference.
Okay, I'm all ears. Lay them on me. What are they?
So the first one is living below your means,
Okay.
which means, spending less than you earn and making thoughtful choices about your purchases.
Right.
A really practical tip they give is like tracking your spending for a month or two, just to see where your money's going.
Okay.
It can help you like pinpoint those areas where you might be overspending,
Right.
and where you could maybe cut back
Mm.
without feeling like you're like sacrificing your lifestyle.
Yeah, that's a good tip. Just like awareness, right?
Yeah.
Once you know where it's going, then you can start making decisions about it.
Exactly, exactly. Second habit is avoiding impulse spending.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, those spur of the moment purchases, those can really like derail your budget.
For sure.
The show recommends putting a waiting period in place,
Okay.
before you make any non-essential purchases. Just
Hmm.
give yourself like 24 hours or even a week
Okay.
to really think about it. Often that initial urge to buy will pass, and you'll save yourself from buyer's remorse.
That's such a good strategy because sometimes I definitely like get caught up in the moment and end up buying stuff that I don't even like actually need or want.
We've all been there. It's about being more mindful, making those intentional choices.
Yeah.
The third habit is keep learning about money.
Okay.
Personal finance. It's a journey, and there's always more to learn.
Right.
So the show encourages us to just stay curious,
Yeah.
read books, listen to podcasts, go to webinars, just like seek out that information that can help you, expand your knowledge and make those smart decisions.
Yeah, I love that. It's like having that growth mindset
Okay.
when it comes to your finances because there's always something new to learn. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Fourth habit is set financial goals.
Okay.
This gives you something to work towards, right?
Right.
Helps you stay motivated. Whether it's saving for a down payment on a house or paying off those student loans, building that emergency fund, investing for retirement, whatever it is,
Hmm.
having those clear financial goals just like gives you direction, it gives you purpose.
Yeah, it's like having a financial roadmap.
Exactly. If you know where you're going, it's a lot easier to like plan the route.
Totally. Okay, so we've got living below your means, avoiding those impulse purchases, keep learning, setting those goals. What's number 5?
And last but not least, tracking your finances regularly.
Oh, right.
This kind of goes along with budgeting, but it's really about staying on top of your spending patterns, spotting any potential problems, and making adjustments as you go.
So it's like having those financial checkups.
Exactly.
Just like making sure everything's running smoothly.
Yeah. Make sure everything's running smoothly and catch anything before it becomes a big issue. So there you have it, the 5 essential habits. Live below your means, avoid impulse spending, keep learning about money, set those financial goals, and track your finances.
So it's not about being perfect. It's about making those choices and building those habits that are good for you.
Exactly. And they really emphasize that those small, consistent actions over time, those lead to the big results.
Right. It's not about some like overnight transformation. It's about making that progress and
Right.
sticking with it. Yeah.
Exactly.
This has been such a good exploration of personal finance. Like I feel like I've learned so much and gotten so many like actual tips that I can use.
Yeah, me too. It's
Yeah.
amazing how much like good stuff they fit into one show.
Yeah.
It really made it feel like understandable and achievable.
Right. It's not this big scary thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm feeling really inspired, like to take control and build a brighter future. What are your final thoughts as we kind of wrap up this part of our deep dive?
Um, I think the biggest takeaway for me is that personal finance is something that like anyone can do.
Mm, yeah.
It's not just for the experts. It's not for people with a ton of money.
Right.
With a little knowledge, a little effort, and the right tools,
Mhm.
anyone can build that solid foundation and reach their goals.
I love how they really emphasize that it's not about like depriving yourself or being like a penny pincher. It's about like making those smart choices,
Right.
having a plan, building those positive habits that like benefit your life overall.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance between enjoying your life today and setting yourself up for success in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like they say, small, smart choices lead to big success, right?
Absolutely. And that's really empowering.
Yeah.
It makes you feel like you can like take control of your money and your future.
Right. And that's what financial freedom is all about.
Yeah, I love that.
So what really stood out to you from this deep dive?
The emphasis on automating things,
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was huge
It's a game changer.
for saving and investing.
Yeah, yeah,
It,
yeah.
it just like takes that willpower out of it. It just makes it so much easier to be consistent.
Totally. I also really appreciated how they talked about the like emotional side of money
Yes, yes.
because they acknowledged like that debt can be really overwhelming.
Yeah.
Investing can seem intimidating. Yeah.
Totally.
It's not just about the numbers. It's about like how our feelings and our behaviors like play into our financial decisions.
Yeah.
And they give like real tips for how to deal with that.
Yes, yes, totally.
Like the waiting period for impulse purchases.
That's a great one. That's a great one.
It's so simple, but so smart.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna try that.
I think it's something we can all benefit from.
Yeah. So for a listener out there who's maybe just starting their personal finance journey, what would your biggest piece of advice be?
I would say start with a budget.
Yeah, it's the foundation of everything.
It's the foundation. Once you know what your income and expenses are, then you can start making those informed decisions about saving and paying off debt and investing.
And there are so many good resources out there to like help you get started with a budget.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. From apps to online tools to financial advisors, there's something for everyone.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it.
Absolutely. No shame in that.
No, it's a sign of like being mature about your finances.
Exactly. It means you're taking it seriously.
Yeah. So to wrap up, what's the one key message that you really want our listener to take away from this whole deep dive?
I would say this. Personal finance, it's a journey. It's not like a destination.
It's about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. So don't beat yourself up, if you make some mistakes.
Yeah, we all do.
Right? It happens. It's about like learning and growing and just keep moving forward.
Yeah. And remember, you don't have to do it alone.
Yeah, so true. There are resources, there's support to help you along the way.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. I think this deep dive has been such a good like overview of all the basics.
Yeah, it's a great foundation.
Now it's up to our listener to kind of take this knowledge and apply it to their own situation. Right?
Exactly.
Make it their own.
Yeah. I'm excited for them, to start their journey.
Me too. But before we wrap up completely, I like to leave our listener with a final thought.
Oh, I love these final thoughts. Okay, what is it?
So I was thinking about this. Emma and Jake, they kind of touch on this in the transcript, but I think it's worth like really emphasizing,
Okay.
the power of setting financial goals.
Yeah, they mention it as one of those essential financial habits.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it's so important because it gives you that thing to work towards, that thing to like really strive for.
Yeah, like without goals, it's really easy to just kind of like drift and lose track of what you're even like trying to accomplish.
Totally. It's like having that roadmap,
Exactly.
So what kind of financial goals should our listener be setting?
Well, I think that's totally up to them,
Right. It's about like what they want.
It depends on their own like values and what they want to achieve.
Yeah. Maybe it's like saving for a down payment on a house.
Right.
Or paying off student loans or starting a business.
Yeah.
Or retiring early.
Yeah, or just building like a really nice, comfortable nest egg.
Right. The possibilities are kind of endless.
Totally, yeah. But the key is to make those goals like specific.
Okay.
Make them measurable, make them achievable, make them relevant, and make them time bound.
The good old SMART goals framework.
Exactly. When your goals are smart, they become so much more like real.
Right. Yeah.
They're not just these like vague ideas. They're things you can actually act on.
Right. It's like turning a dream into an actual plan.
Exactly. And that's where the real change happens.
Love it. So our challenge to our listener is to take some time to like really think about what they want and start setting those SMART goals.
Yes, it's the first step towards building that financial future that they really want.
I couldn't have said it better myself. And with that, we've reached the end of our deep dive into personal finance for beginners.
It's been great exploring this topic with you.
Yeah, and with our listener.
And remember, this deep dive was curated just for you.
We hope you found it helpful.
And we really, really encourage you to keep learning, keep growing on your financial journey.
Until next time, happy financing.
Happy financing.